Hi guys, this video will be a little bit different. This video will be somewhat of a challenge. I'm gonna try to make an audio game as fast as possible, and I hope you like it. I hope it just makes your day a little bit better. So let's get started. Just a quick disclaimer. I am using a speedrun timer to basically track my time on how long it takes for me to make the game. I'm also using Construct 3 as my game engine to make this game. Also, I used a bunch of Kenny assets, mostly the sounds, to make this game. And yeah, that's all the disclaimers, and I hope you enjoy. First thing I did was use a template in Construct 3. It was the audio positioning template. This template was actually pretty useful because it was kind of audio positioning. But we need to know what is audio positioning. Basically, if there's an audio source, right? And if you get closer or farther away from it, the volume adjusts, just like in real life. And this is actually really useful for audio games. The question must be asked, what is an audio game? According to Wikipedia, an audio game is similar to a video game, but there's an audible and tactical feedback, but not visual. What that basically means is that there's more audio feedback and tactical feedback than actual visuals, like sprites. And this basically means audio games can be played by the blind, which is amazing. But one of my biggest pet peeves in audio games is that the audio is so loud. So when I first entered the template, I deleted most of the things in the template, the art, some of the sound effects, and I also replaced some of the art with just squares, because one of the best things I love about making audio games is that you don't have to focus on the art, and I'm really bad at making video game art. So that's really good about making audio games. That's one of the advantages. So one thing I added while making this game is a debug option. So basically I made a new layer and I made it fully black. So it's basically a toggle. When I press T, the layer is turned visible and basically you can't see any of the sprites. If I press T again, the layer goes invisible and then I can see all the sprites. This basically helps me make an audio game, and I call it a debug option. Honestly, I do believe debug options are really important while making a game because they can help you test so much easier. Okay, after a few more minutes, I have decided what the game actually is. So there's gonna basically be a goal, right? And then it's gonna basically make a bunch of noise, and the player has to collect the goal and gain 1 point. If it gets 10 points, they win. And you might be asking, how can that be translated into an audio game? Well, the goal makes a bunch of sound, and using audio positioning, if the player is farther away from it, it will make less sound. And if the player is closer, the sound will be louder. So the player can basically know where is the item. So then I think that will make a good audio game. Originally in the game, I wanted it to be a scrolling game where there was like a camera and then the layout was really big. But then I thought that would be much harder to basically move around. So I made it a one-screen game, made the layout a bit smaller, so it's a bit more easier to move around and it's easier to find the objective. Then I added a sound effect when the player touches the goal, and if the player touches the goal will be basically teleported to a random position that the player needs to touch again. Then I added basically boundaries. So if the player touches the boundary, it makes a sound so the player knows that's colliding with the boundary and they can't go further. Then I added some footstep sounds when the player is moving to indicate that the player is actually moving. But I think I made the footstep sounds a bit too quiet. After that, I added a you win sound effect when you get 10 points. Then I went to Audacity and recorded myself explaining to the player the instruction of how to play the game. And I was pretty sure that I finished, and I was so happy. And then I noticed I finished making the game and it took me an hour. That is great. It took me an hour to make this really bad game. Well, okay. So then I exported it to itch. You can find the itch link down in the below. It has the source code if you want to look at it. And I tested the game. And it's not good. It's super hard to find like the goal when you can't see anything, and the sound doesn't help at all. And like there's too many sounds, it's so confusing. And I can barely hear the player moving. I can barely hear that sound effect. It took me an hour to make a horrible audio game. I'm so happy. So what did I learn from this experience? Well, I learned that making an audio game is really hard and it shouldn't be rushed. And I also learned that debug options are really important. They really help test your game. And that's it for this video. I hope you have an amazing day and this video makes your day a little bit better.